Alright, you're live. Okay. That microphone, just press the green light on it, and press the button right there. And something's got to press it. That number should go solid. Yeah. I'll tell you, these two should be fun. I think one's working. Yeah, that was.
Okay, right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's Super Hustings for the 2024 UK General Election, focusing on the Slough and Windsor constituencies. This is the first time I've brought two constituencies together, but as here at St Bernard's Catholic Grammar School, we are right on the Slough and Windsor constituency border, it just made sense. It is a pleasure to see so many engaged and enthusiastic individuals gathered here to listen to the candidates and participate in the democratic process. Before we begin, I'd like to share a brief historical fact, being a history teacher, that incorporates both our towns. During World War II, Slough and Windsor played pivotal roles in supporting the war efforts. Slough's industrial base produced essential equipment and vehicles, whilst Windsor Castle served as a refuge for the royal family and valuable national treasures. This shared history of resilience and contribution highlights the strength and unity of our communities during these challenging times. To start, let me share a story involving both Slough and Windsor. Several years ago, there was an annual charity boat race on the River Thames between teams from Slough and Windsor. The Windsor team, confident in their royal heritage, decided to decorate their boat with a mock-up of Windsor Castle. The Slough team, not to be outdone, showed up with a boat covered in Mars bar wrappers and a banner that read, "Powered by Chocolate." As it turns out, the extra weight of the decoration slowed down the Windsor boat, and the Slough team, fueled by their sweet inspiration, won the race. It was a delightful reminder that sometimes a little bit of humour and creativity can win the day. Due to time constraints, the parties will work in teams tonight and will decide amongst themselves who will answer the questions. Any Windsor or Slough specific questions will of course be answered by the relevant candidates. This approach ensures that we hear a broad range of perspectives and expertise from each party. As we proceed with tonight's discussions, it's important to remember that we're here to listen, to learn and engage respectfully. Any inappropriate language and behaviour will not be tolerated under any circumstances. We are here to contribute positively to our democratic process, and it's crucial that we do so with decorum and mutual respect. Now, without further ado, let's welcome our candidates who are here tonight to share their visions and answer your questions. Thank you. I'm looking forward to a productive and respectful evening. There is already a troublemaker in the...
Yes. Can we share the answers?
Yes.
If we don't take those,
absolutely.
It's not fair not to give.
Absolutely. Just be conscious of time. That's all I say.
So how long do you suggest we each have to answer a question?
Oh, I don't know, 30 seconds. No, so if you've got 5 minutes between you.
Oh gosh, won't be that.
Yeah, perfect.
No, but we will share it. Is that?
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Edwards, can you grab the first microphone? So I'm going to invite the candidates to come up to the front and give a 2-minute speech, if it stretches that far. Or you can just go down there, that's fine. That's okay. And so I'd like to invite Pavitar Mann from the Labour Party to come and deliver the first speech. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Pam. I'm the Labour Party candidate for Windsor and I'm delighted to be here. I just firstly want to start by thanking Richard and the school for putting me on and giving you guys a chance and the opportunity to hear directly from us. Now I know Richard explained there a little bit about some of the changes that we made. Some of you live in Langley might be thinking, Windsor, what is huge. And I know that this is a real concern for residents who don't necessarily feel part of the community and are genuinely concerned that that level of representation that you've been used to in Parliament will not be forthcoming. Well, we're in my catchment constituency of Windsor now. This is where I grew up, this is where I went to school, and this is where I've represented for the last 14 years as a councillor. So I understand your concerns about not being represented, but I also understand the priorities and concerns that you have for your families and our community moving forward. Now, this election is an opportunity for change. We have the opportunity to change the last and turn the page on the last 14 years of chaos and division of the Conservative government. Because what have we seen? We have seen our public services crumble. We have seen our school buildings crumble over our children's heads. We've seen crime rise and the number of police officers on the street fall, and we have felt that very real in here in Langley. We deal with the consequences of these decisions made by government each and every day. Now, we do have an opportunity on July the 4th to turn the page and make a difference and set out forward our ambition and our hope for the next 5 years. Now, I hope, after we have the debate today, that you will be convinced that the Labour Party and the Labour government is the way forward to deliver the change and deliver the ambition for our country. But I also hope, for those of you who live in the parts of Langley that are moving into the Windsor constituency, that you also understand how important it is to have a local champion on your side, standing up for your priorities, with your desires, and making sure that this part of the constituency, along with every other part, is not forgotten and neglected as we move forward. I look forward to having your questions today, and at the end, if anybody does want to have a chat, I'll be more than welcome that too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'd like to welcome Chelsea White from the Liberal Democrats.
Hello everyone, my name is Chelsea White and I want to tell you a little bit about why I'm standing for the Lib Dems in Slough. I joined the Lib Dems while studying my law degree at university, living with friends from across the political spectrum. I was tired of the broken two-party politics and the perception that we expect this country to do. I knew the Lib Dems had a strong stance on fixing our broken politics, as well as being avid campaigners on international issues and social justice. Since graduating university, I was fortunate to work in the European Parliament in Brussels, where I lived for 2 years prior to Brexit. During my time in Brussels, I worked with liberal and progressive politicians from across Europe, with a focus on issues around civil liberties, justice, and the environment. More recently, I worked with the Lib Dem elected mayor of Watford, gaining first-hand experience of how a well-run Lib Dem council can have a positive impact on the lives of the local people. The Lib Dems are the only party with a combination of policies to bring about real change by tackling issues of concern to Slough residents. We have positive policies to address the years of neglect by both the National Conservative Government and local Labour Council. We are campaigning to fix the crisis in our NHS, protect our local environment, and tackle the cost of living and housing crises. The Lib Dems believe in the protection of fundamental rights of people across the world, standing against persecution and injustice. Only the Lib Dems have consistently campaigned for a ceasefire in Gaza and a free and independent Palestine. For a fresh voice in Slough, we will stand up for you. Vote for me, Chelsea White.
Thank you, Chelsea. I'd like now to invite up Julian Ceci from the Liberal Democrats for Windsor. Sorry.
I'll do this.
I don't want to say it.
So, hello. I feel that I've been here every week because actually I have been here most of the weeks because my daughter, she's 10 and she's taking some entrance, not the entrance exactly, but she was here. And I'm really glad that Langley, as it was to be, or half of Langley, southeast half of Langley, is moved into the Windsor constituency. I'm Julian. I'm the Lib Democrat candidate for Windsor. And I've lived in and around the area for about 20 years. I've been a long-term local campaigner on all sorts of things. And Liberal Democrat MPs, wherever you have Parliament in the country, we always are local champions. That's what we are. And more so than any other candidates in the constituency, we are the local champions and have been for years. And I will echo exactly what Chelsea has said brilliantly. We have a really strong, really progressive manifesto at this election. And what we're on the doorsteps across the constituency, all the way from drinking water, asphalt, suburbs, fluid, etc., all the way through the constituency. We're hearing people fed up with Conservatives, even Conservative members saying they won't vote Lib Dem this time, they won't vote Conservative this time. And then they say, oh yes, we will vote Lib Dem. Sorry, don't part there. And quite simply, Labour in most of the constituency are invisible. They think we are the main challengers in the Windsor constituency. And so, look, I will be a local champion if elected. And yes, I hope you can, I'm going to say more because that will come up in questions. And so hopefully I do look forward to listening to you all tonight.
Well, I have the microphone for a second then. I'd like to invite Simran Dillon up from the Workers' Party.
I don't have the same confidence as first, I'd like to thank England's Council for hosting this and allowing us to answer the questions and concerns. As I was introduced, my name is Simran Dillon and I'm the Workers' Party candidate for Windsor. So I went to be the best I can do for the Windsor constituency. So I researched what the duties are for MPs. And I found that there are three main duties. First is to act in national interest. The second is to act in the interests of your constituency. And third, if you belong to a political party, to act in their interests as well. As long as it doesn't override the interests of the nation and your constituency. With the Workers' Party, that won't happen because we work for the people. We want change. We want for people to be able to live their lives for healthcare to improve and for equality, which is why you should vote for the Workers' Party under George Galloway's Workers' Party for a better future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Simran. And then I'd like to invite Michael Boyle from the Green Party for Windsor.
Hello and welcome. So first of all, who am I? And why am I standing to become Green Party MP at Windsor? My name is Michael Boyle and Windsor is my home. It's where I was born, it's where I went to school, and it's where I spent the best part of my life. My route into politics was completely unplanned. It was 2016 and I'd recently moved back from Windsor after completing my university degree. And walking through the high street, I saw a man starfished on the pavement, clutching 2 empty bottles of whiskey in his hands. Little did I know this moment would be the moment I would start my political journey. Having never seen a sight like this in Windsor before, I decided to stop and speak to him. I asked him if he was okay, if he needed any help, and his name, Martin Jeremy Allen. Now me and Martin became good friends, and it was because of him I stand here today to become the MP, so I can help others like him. In this current environmental and cost of living crisis, it is obvious that the big three parties seem completely out of touch with the people they are elected to represent. The political class obsessed over issues that often have little to no bearing on the day-to-day life of the majority of the population. We need real hope and real change, and I'm here to offer residents that real hope and change. As the Green MP for Windsor, I would like to represent all residents, from Dedham to Langley, from Raisbury to Ascot. I want to restore people's hope and faith in politics as a force for good. And I will work cooperatively with whoever makes the next government for a green agenda that promotes the quality of life and protects people and the planet for common good. Thank you.
Thank you. Very impressive. Right, I'd like to invite David Buckley from the Independents.
Good evening, everyone. I'm David Buckley, your independent candidate for the Windsor constituency. I will protest vote against all the political parties that have failed you, and they will continue to fail you. Party politics has broken Britain by putting their needs first. Only an independent can put their needs first every time. I am here to make real change for the entire Windsor constituency, from Langley to Ascot. We've seen political parties fail us in the past, and today. Tomorrow will be no different if we don't look for change. Voting for any political party on 4th of July means more of the same. The issues we face are real and are happening now. We can't wait for party politics to sort itself out. Imagine a life where Parliament puts your needs first every time. Let's remember, no single party can solve our big issues. Only an independent can put people before politics. Let's make a start by putting independence into Parliament and change politics forever. Let's use this opportunity as a catalyst for change. Let's remember this election is a binary choice. Vote for any political party and get more of the same, or vote for an independent who will put your needs first every time. A vote for any political party is a vote for more broken promises, and we should believe in all this change. Jumping from one party to another isn't change, it's just jumping out frying pan into the fire. So what is the first step in real change? If the Royal Constituency votes to put an independent into Parliament for the first time in history, we will have a voice to put all the constituents first, bringing the needs of local people to the front of the agenda. All political parties follow their own agendas, not yours. Remember, an independent answers to you alone. I'm a local resident first, and will be an MP second. With me by your side, you will never be alone. I will stand with you, fighting for your aspirations, restoring hope and trust in Parliament. This constituency is called to action. We need to put people before politics for now and forever. Thank you for listening. And remember, a vote for independent is your own Independence Day vote.
I'd like to invite Chandra Nivara, independent candidate for Slough.
Good evening, everyone. Let's gentlemen. My name is Chandra Nivara. I've been serving as a councillor, one of the councillors for Slough Council for the last 3 years, and I represent the planning area. The reason I'm standing as a local independent candidate is because obviously the party are parachuting candidates from elsewhere. We need someone who is committed, who is passionate, who is serving already in the role of elected representative role. I've been living in Langley for almost 19 years, and my family and my children are grown up locally. I did my master's in civil engineering. I've been working as an IT consultant for 25 years. I got management experience in the corporate sector as well. And looking at my political accomplishments, obviously I first learned that my then party in 2018, then I stood as a candidate in 2019. In 2021, I won from Mr. Ward. That was the first term for the party, for the Conservative Party. Of course, I was the Conservative Party as a matter of fact. After 20 years of governance. In 2023, again, I won and I was part of the administration group. If you look at my manifesto, it's all about Slough because I have no control of the political parties and no obligation, no will. It's all about improving the safety, it's all about improving the education in Slough and also including Slough into London travel zones. Because from Slough, if someone needs to come into London, they need to pay 27 pounds. But if someone comes from West London, they need to pay only 11 or 12 pounds. So that is something I have in my manifesto as well. And also organizing public meetings. It's all about the collaboration. One of the duties of the elected representative is to bring the government services to the doorsteps of the residents and take your feedback back to the government. And being at Westminster or being at the council is not enough. We need to bring all of you together with various stakeholders. So I am aiming to arrange monthly public meetings with various government stakeholders so that residents can share their views as well. And also establishing a water rules for the people who need extra support because government can't do everything. So
that's time. Thank you.
Thank you. Think independent, choose independent. Thank you very much.
I'd like to introduce Diana Coves for the Independents in Slough.
Thank you. I've no intention of climbing down that big step people would laugh. So I'm particularly pleased to be here because for 12 years I represented Langley St Mary's. I was very disappointed when we went into Windsor. I wasn't councillor then, but I hope Windsor people will not forget Langley area. I used to come here a lot when it was the nuns. They used to invite me to come and sit in their sitting room and grill me on questions, and they were very, very politically aware. They knew all the policies, they would trip you up on things, they were absolutely amazing. So I've got a lot of fond memories of coming here. I understand as an independent staff, why? Because I'm sick of all parties. Okay, I could stand with such hands, which stands for sick of all parties. But I think a lot of people are. I am a Slough independent. I've been in Slough for a quarter of a century fighting for people. 12 years ago as a councillor. I was with charities from age concerns to the homeless, I was the first non-Sikh president of the Sikh charity, I was an animal rescue. I used my home for 12 years as a refuge for domestic abuse victims. I'm not a paid candidate, I'm really fighting. I want to win Slough, I want to represent people. I know Slough inside out. I'm not coming into Slough as a stepping stone and run to my political career. Okay, I live here, I belong here, I know Slough. So that's the important thing. One thing, I want to see Slough rejuvenated with skills. It's wrong that people go out of Slough, the lower paid jobs, and come in with the high skills. We need to get university back. We need to be getting the skills from people in this community. I was during the time of the Labour Council, which was a dreadful time. I was fighting all the time. We're now a bankrupt council, but frankly, the Conservatives haven't done.
That's time.
Thank you. I'm the Slough independent.
I'm now introducing Jack Rankin, who is the Conservative candidate for Windsor.
Good evening, everybody. As Mr. Endicott said, my name is Jack Rankin. I'm the Conservative Unionist candidate for all peaceful towns and villages of the Windsor constituency. What I've been hearing from people locally is that they want a local, vocal constituency member first and foremost. Somebody who is available and accessible in each and every one of those towns and villages right across the constituency. I have heard people's concerns about the parts of land that are moving into Slough, moving into Windsor, sorry. We've already been dealing with that for some time with Congo, and I know that's going to be well. I've been working with them for many years, and I've started working with some of our language teams here, as well as understand issues here. From what I've seen, the issues in language so far, they're particularly policing and antisocial behaviours in forms of people. In the last Conservative manifesto, we promised an extra 20,000 police officers. That's a pledge which has been delivered, and Thames Valley answering, and I say answering because people in their communities, antisocial behaviour, theft, and knife crime. So that's going to be focused on my head. But what I would say to those of you who are worried about what representation looks like, the Windsor seat is already a million different places. So you've got Datchet, Horton, Braesby, flooding is the issue. Ascot, something in there where I live, where it might be more about the family. We've also got the Enfield Free Virginia Water Company. So jumping the line of concerns will be something which will be normal, and I'll be making sure that I have surgeries in each and every one of those, including here in Ireland. Just to touch on the national messaging briefly, I understand people's frustrations with the Conservative National because I often share them. And what I owe you, if you can trust me with your role on the 4th of July, is to give you my independence.
That's time.
Will always be with this community. Thank you very much.
I'd like to introduce Monique Nanda, who is the Conservative candidate for Slough. Monique Nanda, sorry.
Thank you very much to this school for hosting us this evening, and thank you, Richard, for being so professional in this. I'm going to start off by being very honest. I've only been in politics for 3 years. I was born in Taplow. Every weekend as a child, I'm in my 40s now, every weekend as a child, my parents worked in factories. They did a double shift. we would stay on the Farnham Road on Melbourne Avenue, or would be on Northampton Avenue between family relatives. I worked at the Pizza Hut Queensmere, it's not there anymore. I spent time working in hotels as a kitchen porter, all the jobs under the sun. In my 20s, I worked on the Windsor Road for 10 years. I bought my first house, and I bought my first car. I wouldn't be where I am today if it was not for this town. I married a Slough boy, I gave birth in Slough. So for me, Slough is an emotional place. And when you have emotion involved in something, you go that little bit further. You demand that little bit more. And I'm a girl who's got a little bit of fight in her, so I don't expect you to vote for me just like that, but I would want you to support me and let my actions do the talking. And that's why I put myself forward for this seat. Politically, I'd like to say we have a Conservative-run council now. We have re-elected Police and Crimes Commissioner who is Conservative, and I believe when you have these partnerships in place, that's how you make progress. You can't make progress efficiently without the right leaders in this town. And that's what I'm here to do, to get your support and try and change this town for the better, for our children and for our children's children, because it deserves that at the least, it deserves that respect for our children and in this town. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Molly. So we're going to do something slightly different now. So we have a student here from our sixth form, young Dana, who is going to stand in the middle over there with a list of questions that I gave you. Thank you. Dana is going to ask some questions, and then I'm going to invite the parties to then choose who answers them, whether you divvy them up between you, or whether or not you then decide to take one or whatever, whichever you want to say it, really. Would that be being really professional then? Sorry. I'd like to... Oh, hello. Yeah, sorry. So after a series of questions, so there's certain topics we're going to cover. Once we've covered a topic, I will then open questions to the floor, and then Dana will then come round with the microphone so you can ask your question.
That list of questions you've got picked out from people, or is it a melding of questions?
It's about, so I received 71 questions, which probably, I think you submitted 25 of them, yeah. So which is perfectly acceptable. I have no problems with that at all. So I have chosen questions from the ones submitted to cover as many range of topics that I can. But of course, if you wish to ask a follow-up question, but I am conscious of time as well with so many candidates. Thank you. So Dana, over to you.
So our first topic of discussion is it's quite a lengthy discussion. So our first theme is Gaza, and our first question, so can you all hear me? Yeah. Thank you. Our first question, as I'd like to ask to all our candidates, is how will you work towards putting an end to devastation in Gaza and building a lasting peace in the region?
Okay, so just to repeat the question, how will you work towards putting an end to the devastation in Gaza and building a lasting peace in the region? I'm going to go to the Green candidate first.
Hello, thank you. So first of all, I would call on Parliament and the international community to demand unconditional ceasefire immediately. Secondly, I would call upon the UK Parliament to join the 144 member states of the United Nations in recognising the state of Palestine. I strongly believe that without the implementation of these two principles, the negotiations on how to deliver a lasting peace in the region will never be able to be successfully realised. I'm sure that most people here share my abject horror at this unfolding tragedy. The deaths of so many innocent civilian casualties
cannot and should never be tolerated in the 21st century. Due to our historic involvement in the region, I strongly believe the UK has a somewhat unique moral responsibility to help resolve this conflict and bring about a peaceful solution that respects the nationality and rights of both Israelis and Palestinians. Religious and political leaders of the two nations and internationally must come together to resolve this conflict. And whatever the outcomes of these difficult negotiations will be, it must ultimately be one that fully ends the occupation of Palestinian territories, promotes religious tolerance, and delivers lasting peace and prosperity for the two nations. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I'd like to invite any independent candidates. Whichever one. You have a microphone in your hand,
Yeah,
so I'll put it easier, Diana, to be fair.
Okay, as we're sharing, could you tell us when we have half so that we
Yes,
share?
absolutely.
That would be wonderful.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Gaza is a tragedy. Genocide is genocide, whether it's in Rwanda, or it's in Gaza, or it's in Israel. It's genocide. I do not think it justifies £500 bombs, white phosphorus, and water being cut off from Gaza. We have to work. When I'm elected as your Member of Parliament in Slough, I will be working to get an instant ceasefire and a recognition of two states, Palestine and Israel. But we need to stop the Hamas and Zionists using Gaza as a political football and killing so many people because they can, and hiding behind people. It's a terrible thing and we need to stop it immediately. It's appalling.
It is a humanitarian crisis. We need to obviously introduce a ceasefire as soon as possible as an immediate solution. If I get elected as an independent MP, I will work my best by working with all the parties, by working with all the parliamentarians, by working with all the stakeholders to introduce ceasefire as soon as possible. And because I am independent, there is no pressure, like I mentioned in my introduction, from any political groups, and there is no will, so I can raise the voice for the residents of Slough, for the residents of Gaza, for the residents who are suffering. As a short-term solution, like I mentioned, it should be a ceasefire, and then of course we need to have a detailed plan, comprehensive strategy on the permanent solution as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Professor Mann to answer the next question. Thank you. Or should I say the Labour Party, so.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. I've been campaigning on the issue of Palestinian statehood for well over a decade. I first called for a ceasefire back in October, the first council Labour group leader, in the country to do so. So I am not afraid of speaking out against the party line when it's something I believe in so passionately. We've had subsequent motions on this in council, and everyone can see my position very, very clearly. So what needs to happen? There's a short term and then there's a long term. So short term, there has to be an immediate bilateral ceasefire. We have got to release the hostages. Innocent lives are innocent lives, no matter what side of the conflict they are on. The hostages in this conflict are equally innocent. And we have got to massively increase the amount and number of humanitarian aid getting in to Gaza and its population. That's the short term. Now what we have to do in the long term. First of all, we have got to recognise Palestinian statehood. And I'm very pleased that the Labour Party manifesto makes clear that a future Labour government will recognise the Palestinian statehood. We talk about a two-state solution, but you cannot have a two-state solution whilst one of those parties is not a state. So that is an important first step. Secondly, we need to address the issue of settler expansion. To ensure any future post-Palestinian state can be viable, we will need to address this issue head-on. And there is a way through this. So recent settler expansion will need to be demolished. And more established ones will need to be a result of compensatory land given from Israel. Now this has been agreed in the past by both parties. So past politicals that have come forward that have had this agreement with both on the Israeli side and on the Palestinian side. So it can be done, and we need to give that international will behind it. And I would say, in the meantime, we do need to address the extremist settler violence that is taking place particularly in the West Bank. And finally, we need to recognise, and I'm very clear about this, Hamas does not represent the Palestinian people, but equally, the right-wing populist Netanyahu does not represent the Israeli citizen population. So in order for us to move forward, we need to be clear, and I do agree with one of my colleagues who said about our unique responsibility in this region. We need to be making sure that we are capacity building with the Palestinian legitimate leadership, the Palestinian Authority, and actually working with them in order to be able to provide a viable and stable leadership. Because at the end of all of this, what do we want? We want a safe and secure Israel that can live peacefully, side by side, with a safe, secure, and viable Palestine. And we have our role to play, and I'm very clear about where I stand on this.
So I want to see the conflict in Gaza brought to a sustainable end as soon as possible. I think what we're all seeing on our television screens causes us some horror and revulsion. But I think we should be very clear about how the situation started. It started last October with an unprovoked attack from Hamas on innocent Israeli citizens. Israel has a right to defend itself like every other nation on earth, and that means it's going to get its hostages back, it's going to remove Hamas from power in Gaza, it's going to have to remove its capacity in order to launch attacks into Israel into the future. Once we've done that, then I will support the two-state solution, and we should talk about how we could go about doing that. We need a political horizon which provides a credible and irreversible pathway to the two-state solution. We need the formation of a Palestinian government for the West Bank and Gaza with international support, which excludes Hamas and any other terrorist organisation. And that is meaningfully the only way that we can progress in a meaningful two-state solution. You hear the phrase free Palestine. I think I agree with that. We need free Palestine from Hamas's terror, and so we can move forward in peaceful coexistence together.
Thank you. I'd like to pass on to Liberal Democrats.
Thank you. As I previously said in my opening statement, the Liberal Democrats are the only party that has consistently campaigned for a ceasefire in Gaza and an independent Palestine. And that's locally and nationally the only party that has been united in that. The Liberal Democrats have always stood on the side of international law. We believe in working collaboratively with international organisations, not leaving or undermining them as the other parties have. We also believe the UK government should cease the export of British arms to Israel, in line with our party's general stance on not having arms to countries where there are serious human rights concerns. We need an immediate bilateral ceasefire to get the hostages out, put an end to the humanitarian disaster, and provide the space for a two-state solution.
Hello, yes, so let me just add, I completely agree with all of that. First of all, thank you, Chelsea. I completely condemn the Hamas attacks on the 7th of October, the utterly cowardly attacks. And Israel has absolutely got the right to respond to that, but must do in accordance with international law. Have they? No. I'm absolutely disturbed by the enormous death toll that has happened in Gaza, and I'm particularly disturbed by the many attacks, and let's be honest, some clearly targeted on UN vehicles and UN safe havens. Now, the Libyans, as Chelsea has said, we've led the calls for a bilateral ceasefire to stop the war. Leila Moran, the Libyan foreign spokesman on this, who is herself perhaps speaking the French now, has been absolutely clear. I think very, very fair that we can handle it without trying to take sides as well, except taking the side of peace. And we've also stood, as Chelsea said, on the side of international law. We have to uphold rulings of the ICC, the ICJ, wherever they live. We need a two-state solution. And this is opposed by Hamas. It is also opposed by the right wing in Israel. We have to be the adults in the room, and I'm really disappointed in both the Labour and Conservative leadership on this matter.
Thank you. David Buckley, do you want to come in this? Or wait for the later question? Yeah? I'm just very conscious, but I don't try to avoid all three independents having the floor.
Yeah.
Try and work it out.
I think, it's basically, if we cannot get you and not realise what's going on. You know, the situation is, the problem is our country and our party politics. The situation the ruling party will always decide what should happen and what will happen regarding these matters. And we need to become humans, we need to look at what this devastation is. So we all agree here that there should be a bilateral ceasefire. We believe there should be a two-state resolution to this, and we believe we need sustainable peace. I think that, you know, we all need to pull together here, parties all together, rather than worrying about what one blame the other one, blame this one. We need to pull together. These are areas whereby we need to pull together and push forward to show our unity in making change across the world for the UK, to use its powers that we have. And the more we ignore each other and fight each other, we will not make these changes. So we need to pull together, all of us, for this peace, and make sure this sustainable peace happens for everyone, Palestine and Israel. We need peace throughout the world. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Yeah, so obviously the independence, it's a slightly complicated narrative, but in the interest of time, if we could just try and have one person answer, that'd be fantastic. Just work it out between yourselves. Brilliant, when you've never talked to each other before. That's excellent. What could possibly go wrong? Dana, next question.
Linked to this question, what will you do to support community cohesion? What will you do to support community cohesion, linked to the previous question?
And I think that's probably relevant to the Slough candidates. I'd like to go to the Conservative Party first, please.
Being in the South from a very early age, I remember how united this place once was. It was a real model for integration and unity. Muslims, Christians, Sikhs, and Hindus. But things have changed, and they've changed for the worse. Trust has been lost, and the only way to rebuild trust in communities is through dialogue. We need to have open communication, and we need to share one another's celebrations. I lived in the Middle East for quite a while, and there was never a month, I think, where we didn't celebrate, whether it was Eid, whether it was Christmas, whether it was Diwali. I'm also a sportswoman, and in 2006 I set up the Slough Netball League. It was a summer netball league back then, and I was the coach for a young Muslim team. And we played the Slough Sikh girls. The children from the Muslim community asked me why I was their coach. Because it doesn't matter, I was trying to explain to the children, where you're from. It's about coming together and uniting and celebrating who we are as individuals. And it would be under that umbrella that I would want to bring our communities together through many other endeavours I'd like to bring forward as somebody that cares about unity. That is actually one of my first pledges for this town, because we are not strong if we don't have that unity. We become stunted, and that is the foundation for everything.
Thank you. Thank you. I think this question is relevant to Simran and the Workers' Party, so I'd love to hear her views on this one.
Thank you. So we want to build a community where everyone feels valued and supported and connected. Community cohesion is not just about living side by side, but about living together in a way that respects and values our differences while working towards common goals. So we want to promote inclusivity and diversity, and like it was mentioned, celebrate each other's cultures and ethnicities and religious backgrounds. So festivals, community events, and educational programs can all bring together our community, and we can create forums where community members can share their experiences and perspectives, fostering mutual understanding and respect. So community cohesion is important. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Simran. Would the Independents like to nominate a speaker for this one? The Independents.
We're going to share it very quickly.
Go for it.
Okay. I actually think that sectarianism that's been used in Slough in this election, and it's very unfortunate. I think once the election is over, that will go, especially if a Member of Parliament is fighting for a solution to Gaza. So I don't see a problem. We've always got on, and we'll continue to get on. It's being used in this election, which is wrong.
While working on any complex services to matter, certainly we need to bring all the communities together, rather than taking this of one community and then taking a decision on what the community says. We need to bring the communities together and get their views and get a collaborative solution and propose that solution to the Parliament. Obviously, we as independent or as independent, we can't propose a solution, but we can propose a solution to the Parliament. And the political party who is leading the Parliament, they can take the inputs into consideration and work towards bringing the community. Work towards bringing a good solution, which will keep the communities together as well. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. Sorry, yeah, okay, David, yeah. Yeah, sorry, our mic person just run off and put the fans on. So.
Yeah, there's no doubt that we live in a divided society, not just here in Slough and Windsor, but throughout the UK. Whether it's political opinions and persuasions, religious and cultural differences, or even just what football team you support. I believe as a society, we should all remember the words of the late MP Joe Cox, that we have more in common than which divides us. It seems more than obvious to me that greater political, religious and cultural education is key in creating a cohesive society that respects the traditions, cultural heritage of everyone within our communities. And as a Green Party MP, I will seek to add more political, cultural and religious studies into the curriculum to bring our communities together. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to invite the Labour Party.
Thank you. I think it's important that we're honest and don't look back with rose-tinted glasses. For those of us who actually grew up in Slough, we remember the 90s. The idea that we lived in this constant sense of harmony was not true. We had very real race-based issues in the 1990s, and they didn't disappear from the platitudes that we have heard up on stage today. It was the hard work and determination of political and community leaders that got us to a position where we were able to live together in celebration and in unity, and that is at risk now. So there's no point talking about our ambitions around we want unity. Of course we do, everybody does. How are we going to achieve it? First of all, we do not have an interfaith forum in this town. We and the Labour Group have been calling for that in the council for the last year, and I do think it's incumbent on both the council leadership and the parliamentary representatives when they come forward to really take a leading role in initiating and facilitating that across all the communities in Slough. Secondly, we need to take a really serious look at our community political leaders. I think it's shameful that we've seen a real backward step in the local council, for example, in the number of female representatives, how diverse our representation is, how we are represented, and in this case not all parts of our community. And we need to take an honest look at that and what that message that sends, and I do not think it sends the right message now. So we do have a hard job in front of us, but we've done it before, we can do it again. Because those of us who know Slough and know our community know that we do have more in common, and that we can actually celebrate our differences as well as our commonality. But we do need to put that hard work in.
Thank you. And I thank you.
There's no getting away from it. The Conservatives have created a hostile environment in this country. Hostility towards refugees and asylum seekers, economic migrants, and frankly anyone that hasn't been brought up in a certain way. Politicians should be leading from the front, welcoming people into this country and into our local communities, but instead they talk of culture wars and the woke agenda. Lib Dems are the only party with diversity officers as standard, and we recognise the need to bring people together. So, with a change in government and changing politicians locally, hopefully, I hope that we can get back to being the welcoming country we once were.
Okay, right, so I'm just going to change the emphasis a bit and bring our sixth formers into the equation, so hopefully you're listening. Dana, can you ask question number 4, please?
Is university worth being signed with a lifetime of debt?
I'd like to bring in the Green Party candidate first, please.
Going to university is without question one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. Whilst I do not work in the industry I studied, leaving the nest of my parents' house and studying my television production degree at Bournemouth University was some of the most enjoyable years of my life. Even now, as I duck and write letters sent to me from student finance telling me how much I owe them and how much interest they charge me, I will never regret my time at university. As the Green Party MP for Windsor, I will campaign to end tuition fees for undergraduates, so that future generations do not have to endure the stress of being scared to open a letter from a student loans company. Thank you.
I'd like to invite the Workers' Party.
Okay, thank you for that question. So as you can tell, I've just recently graduated, so I understand the fear of student debt as I'm still going through it right now. I just looked at it and oh my god. So it depends on who you are as a person. I wouldn't say university is for everybody. Not everybody likes the academia part. And diversity is what is pushed. And as for the Workers' Party, empower individuals without leaving them burdened by debt. Higher education should be an opportunity for personal growth and professional, not a financial gamble, which is why we advocate for free first degree. Ensuring that all students, no matter their background, can pursue their studies without burden of debt. And it makes it accessible for everyone, regardless of financial situations. Thank you.
I'd like to pass it on to Liberal Democrats.
Let's first be clear. University is not for everyone. But for those who do wish to go, they should feel comfortable that they're getting a good deal for the education provided. Many students, including myself while I was studying, take on part-time work during their time in university, but often this isn't enough. The Lib Dems will immediately reinstate maintenance grants for the most disadvantaged students to ensure living costs aren't a barrier to attending university and reduce the amount students have to borrow overall. We would also establish a review of higher education finance in the next Parliament to consider any necessary reforms in the light of the latest evidence of the impact of the existing financing system on access, participation and quality, and make sure there are no more retrospective rising rates or selling off of loans to private companies.
And then I'll keep them in the line for the Labour Party. The Labour Party. That's at the end.
So you're also going to be hearing a lot from me today. Is it worth it? For people who want to go and want to take that academic route, personally I would advocate it was. It's not just the academic qualifications you get, it is also the wider social and cultural and community experience you get. However, university is not the only path for students at that age. Technical and vocational skills are just as valid, just as important, and actually just as you can get into just as good employment at the end as well. So we need to make sure that for those who want to go to university and who make that choice, that their access is there, that the funding is available for them, and that they are able to pursue that. But that doesn't mean it's the be all and end all, and I'm very clear around that. And when we come to university funding, I think there are a few issues here. First of all, we've seen that actually it could have a perverse impact on the affordability if any party here was to make unfunded spending commitments around tuition fees. We saw with the Dems what they had to deal with in the coalition government as a result. It might actually impact on the number of students that are actually being able to be taken domestically as universities if they don't have that funding, but then look for overseas students to help plug that funding gap. The Labour Party is also committed to undertaking an immediate review of the wider higher education funding model, because the current law doesn't work for anybody. Whether you are a university, whether you're a student, or whether you are the taxpayer that is paying for it, it doesn't currently deliver at all. And one of the existing problems with our university funding programs is for those universities who want to take R&D, so research and development programs. At the moment, these funding cycles are very short term, which means they don't have the consistency and the stability, and it also means that they're regularly having to resubmit bids for funding, which then leads to time, cost, and impact on that. The Labour Party will scrap that current system and institute a 10-year funding cycle for R&D schemes, which gives that stability and consistency for those universities who are doing those programmes, and also reduce the costs involved in for them having to consistently bid for little pockets of money.
Thank you very much. That came to
Okay, a bit of realism here from a businessman who's got 40 years experience in business in running my companies. I agree totally on access for all students. I think actually funding should be increased to encourage more students to attend university if they wish to. There shouldn't be any barriers to anyone attending. But we have to be realistic. There has to be repayment of student loans. Student loans are running 400 billion at the moment and could be close to £1 trillion in the near future. So I'm fully supportive of every student who wishes to go to university, and we should be looking to support them every way. But also, I also support repayment of those loans. So if you take responsibility on, as we do with mortgages and loans ourselves as people, you need to take on that responsibility of repayment. And if you've got a degree which will help you repay that loan, then that should be supported in every way. But if you take on a degree that will not repay that loan, maybe there might be a better path for you. So I'm just trying to be realistic. Focus everyone on long-term debt. It's off balance sheet in the government at the moment, and will really affect the financing of the government around across the world once we expose that huge debt to student loan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Part of the Slough tenants.
Thank you. There's no discussion about if university is worth or not. University degree is worth, but that is the choice that someone is making. And we do not think about how much it costs. Of course, certainly you need to consider the economic factors, but it is worth and it is for that. University is not only about getting you into the career, it is about making you as a person, as a responsible citizen, and who will, where you know, responsible adult, you will enter into the world of the reality. And of course, if you look at my manifesto, it talks about supporting the council curriculum of the university to our town. So obviously the council is trying to bring university back. We used to have university at the university. So one of my manifesto items is to support the council to bring the university. By bringing the university back to Slough, we can reduce the expenses that would incur for a student, because obviously the living expenses cost around 10,000 pounds per year. And suppose if the university is in Slough, within Slough, then it costs only tuition fees. Then the living expenses are very minimal. So that is also something we can focus into it. And obviously, when you go to university, then you will be attracting to the higher jobs, good jobs, obviously. But again, as everyone is saying, it's not only the law, there are multiple paths that one can pursue. And choose what you want, whether you want to go into the apprenticeship route or whether you want to go to the university route. But don't stop going to university just because it is expensive, it is worth. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to be here in a grammar school. I went to grammar school only until I was 15, unfortunately, but I did. I don't think university is for everybody. We used to have very good technical schools, and I actually believe we should go back to having good technical schools so that people learn skills. We need plumbers, we need electricians, we need car mechanics. We don't just need people studying media studies or how to be a golf course manager. I think it's unfair, it's not for everybody. We need a university in Slough, yes, but I don't think it's very fun, and I don't think it's worth studying yourself and your parents with a lifetime of debt so that you can have an enjoyable time. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Are there any concerns about it? Thank you.
I don't think that's quite fair. But you gave your honest view. So the question is whether it's worth going to university, and I think that's the question for each and every student themselves, right? My general view is that since 1997, perhaps, we've sent too many people to university on somewhat of a treadmill, right? And I think it is appropriate for people who perhaps are academically gifted and whose ability merits it to go to university. But I think we've started to send too many of our students to university on a treadmill.
Excuse me, isn't that what I said? I didn't use the word treadmill, but that's what
Thank you
I
very
said.
much.
I thought we were having a debate, but it's actually
so I think that's going to be considered view made on the merits. What I will say is that there's some fantastic vocational opportunities these days. I work in the city, and you could, 10 years ago you would have needed a degree to get a job in the city, whereas now there's some fantastic apprenticeship degrees into the city, and so you can get there ahead of your peer group and get yourselves into some of the top names that you want to do in the city. I also would really making a reach out there that careers like, for the right people, electricians, plumbers, they need their good careers in the sector to be well in mind. The other thing I would like to touch on, Richard, is the campaign to bring a university to Slough, and a local Conservative group that came to office last May has made that one of their pledges. That's something I want to support. There's a lot of high-tech jobs in this area that don't necessarily go to Slough people, and I think the university and that town can help bring people, Slough people, give greater access to this.
Okay, thank you. I want to bring the sixth formers in actually. Is there a sixth former who would like to raise a point on university education? We can stretch that back. Because I know it's a big topic for others. Do you want to go to the microphone as opposed to the microphone come to you? That's probably easiest.
It was go to university.
A lot of you mentioned about investing in a university in Slough, but I feel like one of the main reasons a lot of students leave Slough is because of how, not bad, but Slough needs a lot of development. So I feel like, don't you think that it would be better to invest in other things, like, for example, making a better high street, making Slough a more attractive place to live before you think about getting a whole university?
Can you hear me? I'll take my phone.
It's for the live stream.
Oh, okay, fine. I apologize. Right, there's lots of things in Slough. We need to get rid of the electric bus lanes. We've got urban overspill where the other boroughs send their homeless into Slough because it's cheaper, and our own homeless can't get home. Young people can't get affordable accommodation to stay to get on the housing ladder. There's a myriad of things. You're quite right with what you said. That was marvellous. There you are, you're over there. That was marvellous. You should think about going into politics. Okay? Very definitely make a difference. But I agree with you, there's so much. There's nothing in this town. The cinema's gone. Everything's gone. Marks and Spencer's gone. Our high street is a disgrace. It's a third world high street. The real high street now is Farnham Road. And I just pray the council don't ruin that. So yeah, you're quite right. Well done, you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else want to come in on that? Michael? Is there a microphone? Is there a microphone available? So, Thomas, can you sort that out, please?
So, I don't actually agree about homelessness. I'm actually an outreach recovery worker for a charity that's now working with people with drug and alcohol addiction. And if they're not from this area, then Slough Borough Council doesn't have a duty to house them. So that is inaccurate. I will put that out.
I'm sorry, it's not inaccurate. Travelodge is full of people from other boroughs. All the hotels are. Get off your backside and go and look.
Temporary accommodation, possibly.
No, go and look. I've worked in a home for years. I'm sorry, 4 years.
To say, let's disagree on that one. But yeah, I think the real issue with Slough is there is a massive problem with drugs and crime. And I do think that we need to seriously invest in drugs and alcohol services and tackling serious crime.
We will come on to that topic, Michael.
Right, that's
I'm not saying it's not a fair point, I'm just saying it's a fair point.
But yeah, I think that's one of the big things that we need to in Slough, just to make it safe and, rejuvenate our high school.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. Right, I'm going to move on, and I've got a surprise question. Question number 5, please, Zaina.
Quite topical. Do grammar schools enable or impede social mobility? No.
And I'd like to call on the Labour candidate to answer that one first.
Now, obviously, we have the grammar school system here in Slough, and actually they've done really good work in terms of bringing up the standards of all schools. So if you look back when we still had Berkshire County Councils back in 1988, our grammar schools in Slough were still high-performing schools. But as a local education authority, Slough was in the bottom quarter of performance. Now look at where we are. We are consistently top 10 in the country. Now that is because of the partnership work that's gone on between our grammar schools and our non-selective schools, which has really enabled the gap for our non-selective schools to improve considerably. Take Beechwood School, once in one of the worst schools in the country. Now look at it, it is a school that is oversubscribed again and again, and has built that as a result of the very strong partnership we have of secondary heads in this town and the good work that they do together. Now I wouldn't advocate changing our system because it has served us at this very time, but I also wouldn't advocate expanding it into areas where it doesn't currently exist. We have inherited the school system we have here, and it has worked well for us. The other point I would just make is we have a really fragmented educational system in Slough. Yes, we have grammar schools and non-selective. We have faith schools and no faith schools. We have free schools and local independent schools. We have every type of school you can imagine in Slough. And at the moment, it is only that partnership working amongst the schools that is actually helping deliver the improvement chain and the education attainments that is delivering in Slough kids. And anything that risks that partnership and then further fragmentation will also risk the outcomes for our children.
Thank you. I'd like to bring in the Workers' Party next, please.
That's a great question. So I went to grammar school myself. I just went across the road to Upton, and my brother. Yeah. So and my brother went to local state school, went to Digital Park Academy, and I cannot believe I'm going to admit this, but he did incredibly well, and he did do better than I did. So I don't tell myself that. So I think having great grammar and faith schools, like I've mentioned, we have a range of different schools, and as I was leaving, there were more partnerships. It works. Our education here in Slough is actually one of the best. Upton was one of the top 10 in the UK for grammar schools, so I don't think it impedes. Thank you.
Lovely. I'd like to ask the Conservative Party next, please. I love this, because I've created walls between everyone. So well accepted the question.
So I can give you a personal take rather than a political one. My husband went to Langley Grammar School, and everyone, pretty much most people in his intake became surgeons, bankers, solicitors. So that was 15, 20 years ago. So grammar schools definitely enable strong social mobility. It's a game changer. It is a game changer. I also know that we have schools like the Langley Academy, and that has a very high wait list now. But I do believe that we need to give the same diligence to all schools. I am more of the humanities rather than the sciences. I probably wouldn't have got into grammar school, so I would have needed a school that allowed me to push my ambition in the arts, in history. So I possibly could have been one of the ones left out. I hope that in this town we can work a lot more with the leaders of our school and bring more residents actually that live in Slough, get them into the grammar schools. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I do understand there are a lot of students that live outside of this catchment area that get into the grammar schools. I'd like to try and work on that and find out, because of 1 or 2 percentage points they haven't got in. I think, again, we have to focus on this town, the residents getting into the correct schools for them and working in partnership with each school. I'm actually meeting the Langley Grammar headmaster next week, and it's something that I would like to just chuck a few ideas around to see how we can make it more of an equal system where we can work collaboratively with the arts, with creativity, all those children like me that were not strong in academia, respectable at best, and see what we can do to lift all the kids that are born and raised in town. And I'd also like to say we do have a very diverse community. We have to think about the, am I allowed to say the white English in working class children? And I don't mean to disrespect when I say that, it's just the only thing I can think of, but they are getting left behind, the children that are in Brickwell, social housing estates. We need to remember we're all part of the same community, so let's help each other out. And we need a strong education system, a robust one in this town where we can help one another out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Pat, you want to just come in on that one?
Yeah, just to make the point that our members already do specialise in different subjects in Slough. I went for Herschel Grammar, as those of you here will know, that's a technology specialist. Language Grammar that was touched on specialises in some of the creative subjects I'm using now. Now, Language Grammar is actually in the Windsor constituency moving forward. And one of the things that I did when I was previously responsible for this, was actually look at the admission criteria and really narrow that admission criteria in terms of the geographical range, so that it was more Slough students, more students who lived in Langley that were able to go to that school rather than having a wider admission circumference that meant people who technically were not within the town attended that school. Now, it is with the local council who has the power as a local education authority to be able to do that. So if everybody's suggesting that as an MP they can make that happen within the win, so it would be for the local council to take a look at doing that, which is exactly what I did when I was the councillor responsible.
Thank you. Coming from a different side, I had a private school education, unbelievable accent. But I moved to state school because my mum was a very caring mother, and she realised I was getting on private school. My mum went through a grammar school, this was in the 1950s, so you can imagine coming out of Dockland in a very poor family, what it meant to go to grammar school, it was huge, okay, massive. So I've got experience of all three levels of schools in my family. And I think what I picked up from all the conversations with different parties was partnerships. And I think that is very, very much an independent statement. It's about partnerships and putting together. So I really just want to say, I'm the governor of the school church week, but it also comes back to reality. In church week this year, we had 120 places with 300 applications. So you've got to get filled, you've got to create these school places for people, and you've got to give people an opportunity. So the answer to the students is yes, fantastic, grammar schools are fantastic. Partnerships made in all schools. It's really, really important that we need places. We can't keep developing, and we must develop schools, we must support teachers, there's all that infrastructure that goes on around. So we must support it, we must make it happen, and we must partner with each other, and I think that's the important one.
Thank you very much. Liberal Democrats, please.
Thank you. So just to go back to the original question, thank you. The answer, I think, is that yes, grammar schools can enhance opportunity for some. What we need to do is make sure we enhance opportunity for all. And I'm quite proud of the fact that one of the things that the Liberal Democrats achieved in coalition, and which has survived since, is the improved pupil premium. The idea was that this follows the poorest people and it's extra funding specifically for them and the schools. I'm really proud about that. And we would reverse the Conservative cuts to that. We would also expand free school meals to all children in poverty. And look, my wife's a teacher, and she was saying how when she asked a child, what did you have for dinner? Like this question like that, what did you have for dinner tonight? And of course it turns out he doesn't have dinner. The only food that he had that day, and a lot of days, was the breakfast that provided and the school meal. Now, I think that we really, the Liberal Democrats always led on education. I think with mental health and professional in school, that's another thing we need to do. One thing I will say, just to sort of disagree with what Labour are planning, and this is going back to, if you like, around more private schools, is this idea of adding back VAT to, I think that's a bad idea, because some of those, and it will, the parents who do say to send their children to those schools, many won't. And so I don't think that's a good thing. What I would do is I would amend or sort of make more conditional the charitable status of some of these schools. Now, I got skin in the game here. I went to a public school many years ago, but I've got a scholarship there, and a lot of these schools do things like they give scholarships and all of that stuff, and we should make that conditional, so that it's not just a few schools that do that, but you know, that they're encouraged and they have to do it, otherwise they won't get travel.
Thank you very much. Right, I'm going to move the topic on for this particular one. I'll move on to young people and question number 6. Please say that.
With exorbitant rents and rising mortgages, what hope do young people have in being able to afford to stay in this area?
And I'll go to the independents first.
Thank you. Yes, obviously the rates are increasing and the mortgage rates are very high, and it's not easy for adults to get into the property ladder. If you take example of mine, my son is 24 years, so he's been working for 2 years, but still he's nowhere close to buying a property because obviously property prices are very expensive and affordability criteria is not pretty into my son's salary range. So what we need to do is obviously we need to look into building more affordable homes, and also we need to promote some schemes like first-time buyers schemes, which will enable more of youngsters to get into the property market. And in terms of the rents, we need to put some rent controls. Otherwise, the rents are being increased by the landlords as they wish, based on their own reasons. But I will propose some rent controls as well to the government, who can introduce some rent controls so that rent controls will be under the limit, so that the rents are manageable.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I touched on urban overspill, which is where other boroughs are sending their homes to Slough. There's no denying it. I know it happens. And the point is that is driving rents up, and it's making it unaffordable for our young people to ever get on the housing ladder. I actually think we need to build more council houses. I would like to see that. And I definitely think we need to stop the landlords making these exorbitant profits that they're making, which are often subsidised by us, the taxpayer. So that's what I'd like to see.
Okay, that's bringing the Workers' Party.
Yeah, so it is pretty much a scandal that young people can't afford their own homes. Or having access to fair rental places. So it shows the failure of those in charge, really. And any measures we do take, you have to remember that it will take time to fix. So we, at the Workers' Party, want to build more social housing by saying affordable homes for young people, young families, to help overall housing costs. And we want to utilize empty or repurposed buildings that are no longer used. So we've got more buildings to build houses. And as mentioned, we do need to regulate buy-to-let. With regulation in place, we can help protect tenants and maintain decency. So thank you.
And then the Labour candidate, please.
Thank you. I find it somewhat ironic to hear Councillor Gravella talk about needing more affordable homes when he has lobbied against the delivery of affordable homes exactly at every opportunity he's had. So I'm glad to hear he's done conversion on that issue now. I think there's 2 issues here. There's the provision of homes for people to purchase, particularly first-time homes, and then there's the rental market. So if we look at first-time homes, simple fact is we need to be building more social and affordable homes. Now, I'm pleased that when we look at the Langley Park that's moving into the constituency of Windsor, I'm pleased to represent my part in starting a conversation about some sites that are coming forward for development, so namely the police station site and the Merry Maiden site, and making sure that that includes affordable housing as part of that development.
both of which is shortly to come before committee for determination. Then it's about how we help people to get onto the housing market. So we have our proposal is a mortgage guarantee scheme for the people who can afford the monthly payment on the mortgage but struggle to save for that large deposit without any family help. That is a scheme that's targeted to first-time buyers to help them address that issue and get them on the housing market. Then we need to look at the rental market, because that is a real issue here in Slough. And I think if I may, I think the disagreement we had between Michael and Diana earlier, but they were both kind of right actually, because what we are seeing is with other local authorities from pretty far away actually, not just our neighbouring local authorities, but block booking our private rented sector. We have much less supply locally for local residents to be able to get into the rental market. We are also seeing a significant rise in the use of Section 21, so that's no fault evictions, which then means that these families are presenting at the council, and the council then has responsibility to house them when they have done nothing wrong, and they're being thrown out simply on the landlord's whim. So we are proposing to ban Section 21 evictions, so that landlords can no longer chuck a family out of a home for no good reason. We are looking to introduce a renters charter that gives better protection for renters, whether that's around the quality and the efficiency of their home, in terms of energy efficiency, safety, or whether it's around actually better protection against exorbitant rent rises. So it needs to be a mixture of both, because neither one is going to solve the problem in isolation, and we need to make sure we address the issue across all housing tenures and types.
Thank you very much. Should pass to Liberal Democrats.
Thank you. The increasing cost of living is a concern for everyone, but none more than young people. The idea of being able to afford a home is unsurprisingly a daunting one, and with the current government, that won't be changing anytime soon. But the Lib Dems have a plan to ensure community-led development in cities and towns using brownfield, former industrial or commercial sites, and we've committed to building 150,000 new social homes a year. We want to deliver a fair deal for renters by immediately banning no-fault evictions, making 3-year tenancies the default, and creating a national register of licensed landlords. We will give local authorities the power to end right to buy, and we will abolish residential leaseholds and cap ground rents to a nominal fee so that everyone has control over their properties. The Slough Lib Dems in particular have also been campaigning locally for the introduction of the Community Infrastructure Levy, which would ensure when the planning permission is agreed, developers make larger contributions to invest in local infrastructure to ensure it keeps up with increasing populations.
Thank you very much. The Conservatives, please.
Thank you for the question. I think I agree with quite a lot of what's been said by some of my colleagues. The first thing we need to do, obviously, is build more homes. But what I would say to perhaps past point is that when we build homes, we need to make sure we do that sustainably. That means we need to look at the traffic, we need to look at GP surgeries, we need to look at schools, and so particularly for the areas that have mentioned the police station, to have picked up quite some disquiet in these wards around the traffic that's created and also pressures on GP surgeries. So we kind of think that we're working with Slough Council and local NHS trusts and the government for things like to try to get us more GP investments and more localised NHS, and also traffic investments such as the cycleway that the government's funded recently. In terms of buying, one of the things that we've done is first-time buyers, we increase the stamp duty threshold. We pay that from £300,000 to £425,000. I think that is helping first-time buyers in the more expensive parts of England to get on property ladder. We made that permanent. We're also continuing to support the Help to Buy scheme, which is where we can 5% deposit. Young people can get 20% help from the government in order to make that within cost of region.
Okay. Yes, of course.
Yeah, in layman terms, because I know Slough is a straight talking place, I'll try and be as straight talking as I can. But in short, the Labour government will land first-time buyers with a tax bill of over £11,000. That's £11,000 for first-time buyers. The Conservative Party, whether you like the political speak or not, they will help first-time buyers up to over £400,000, and that is in the manifesto. So that is the long and short of it.
Okay, lovely. Labour, do you want to come back in on that?
Yeah, just a really quick question. So we've heard then around the extension of the stamp duty. So how is that being funded?
Conservatives, want to answer that one?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. So over the last couple of years, the Prime Minister has obviously gained the confidence of international capital markets. That's one of the reasons we see inflation come down to 2%. I think it's quite clear.
My question is how is your party proposing to fund the policy you just said, which is a continual extension of the stamp duty relief?
Well, it's happening at the moment, but it continues as it stands. It's funded at the moment, and that will continue that.
Well, that's quite amazing that you didn't know the answer, and Michael Gove this morning wasn't able to give an answer and had to admit that it was unfunded. So what do you know that Michael Gove doesn't?
Literally every single policy area that you criticise on, you say, more money for police, more money for health, none of it's funded whatsoever. That's almost £2,500 each household.
Okay, thank you very much.
Widely debunked statement that the Conservative Party stands. If he's not able to admit where that number is coming from, I asked a simple question. We did not get an answer.
Thank you. David Buckley.
You don't know what program we're doing. Okay, so, under the question was, how people can survive with all the events and higher house prices. The answer is under party politics, we just heard, you've got no hope, there's no chance. You need intervention, you need people who really put things before politics to stop changing these things. We must not have any further housing development other than social housing. It is the only one. People talk about affordable housing, they make all these developments and offset their affordable housing and other payments to somewhere else. The affordable housing doesn't exist in Slough. The average salary is £35,000. We've got a price of 400,000 in Slough. The average price of Windsor is 700,000. It doesn't equate. So the only answer is, and unfortunately, as Jack said, we have to look out for the infrastructure pressures. The pressures on GP surgeries, NHS waiting lists, all these other areas, school placements. But we have to be realistic. Social housing is needed. This will give people, every type of person, an opportunity for low rents and real affordable housing.
Hey, thank you. Mr. Mavala.
Thank you. Just a answer question. Yes, I was in the planning committee for the first 2 years of my service, and of course, whenever there is a planning application in the next.
Mr. Mavala, sorry, I'm going to sort of stop you there because I'm conscious of time, but I don't want borough council business in a parliamentary discussion. Sorry, I understand your frustration, but it's a borough council issue, it's not a parliamentary issue. Sorry, thank you. So, moving on, does anybody have any points they'd like to raise about young people? There's a couple of hands up.
I was in the recent news that in Canada there's a father asking for his 20-something daughter to not be euthanized by doctors. Will one of you write down information about them?
Is there anybody who would vote against euthanasia? Is that right? That the question? Yes,
I've had a lot of people emailing me about this issue. I'm sure other candidates have. I've got multiple sclerosis, and if I ever become so progressive that for me my life is not worth living, I would choose to be assisted. Okay, I would choose, but that's me. We have to have safeguards against greedy families. People who just want to get rid of someone because they're a nuisance, or they want their money, or they want their house. This is the worry, the slippery slope. So I do agree with you, it's terrible. If that young, I don't know that in the case, I confess, but if that young person is able to communicate and explain they don't want to die, they shouldn't be made to die. It's disgraceful. Is that what the case is? Could you tell me?
Someone with severe depression, it's very clear that they will fail in their life.
But depression comes and goes, you have good and bad days.
The doctors in Canada have agreed to euthanize her, and euthanasia is sweeping across Europe.
No, I don't want to see that. No, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that.
The Conservatives, just come in on that.
So my heart goes out to people with certainly life-limiting conditions. I had a lady reach out to me with a terminal illness that was trying to applicate for assisted dying. And I understand why that she would want that in that case, but I would never vote for an assisted dying law in the United Kingdom. For similar reasons to Diane's outline, I think it opens a slippery slope. I don't know this case in question, so I don't want to take it too much. But I have seen instances, for example, in the Netherlands, whereby someone who's physically well but has mental illness in their 20s has effectively opted for this, and I don't think that is something that we should be doing. I also think it opens the potential risk of, when we see that social care pressures, or when people are using perhaps their earnings in social care settings, pressure from families and from doctors, for people to take this course of action, and I don't think that's the kind of society we want to live in.
Thank you. The lady in the front who wishes to come in on this issue.
You're running as standing for MP for Slough.
No,
And Windsor.
Slough or Windsor, right? So basically, I would like to ask what you are going to do for the mental health services after a freedom of information request last year. 20 suicides happened in Slough. I found my neighbour hanging after 18 years. The mental health crisis team is in crisis. They are not fit for purpose. The adult social care is in crisis, not fit for purpose. The SEND report for children not getting access to schooling is in crisis, not fit for purpose. I would like to know what the MP, if you are an MP, are going to actually do. Has done nothing for over 20 odd years. People are sleeping in garages, sleeping in ditches. The historic charities get no funding from this council, while they spend 54 million on the HQ, and property in Slough that belongs to the council is being left derelict. We are walking through the high street where there's student excrement there, where people used to come from miles around. This place has been failed by both the Labour Party and the Conservative Party. And I resigned from the Conservative Party because they wanted me to do deals with certain communities. Didn't you, Mr. Dillon?
Thank you very much.
Oh, and by the way, punched me.
Oh, thank you very much. Right. Okay, can I go to Liberal Democrats for that one, please?
I think we're going to split this one in two.
That's fine.
So I'll take mental health and Julie will take adult social care. So the Liberal Democrats want to put mental health on equal footing to physical health. It's something we've been campaigning on for a very long time and we feel very passionate about it. We want to improve early access to mental health services by establishing mental health hubs for young people in every community and introducing regular mental health checkups at key points in people's lives when they're most vulnerable to mental ill health. We also want to put a dedicated qualified mental health professional in every school. We want to extend young people's mental health services up to the age of 25, as people are too often forgotten when they reach the age of 18. And we want to introduce a target of 1 hour for handover of people suffering from mental health crisis from police to mental health services, because this is something that the Conservatives have actually reneged on recently. And lastly, we also want to ensure that all police forces have a mental health professional in the control room at all times so they're prepared to deal with this.
Yes, so we had this question about suicide. Very good question. I just want to take the adult social care angle to it. But we need to fix adult social care. There are too many people in hospital who should be in social care, but unfortunately can't because they've got nowhere to go. It's actually one of the biggest problems we have in the NHS. So one of the things we do, that we said on the NHS, is we need to reform GPs, GP guarantee. If you like, that's the front door. But then the back door is adult social care. So one reason why there are lots of people in hospital is because we've got these people who should be in social care, but they can't go there. So look, it's also, and also again, the biggest cost for local councils. It's statutory, you have to pay for the council, and it's demand led, so you don't know how much it is. What we said is that on that, the local council will need national coordination, both to save costs and to improve outcomes. Now, just want to change the subject because the question was a question before, wasn't there, about youth parents, and I do want to address it just personally. So, look, I actually agree with what a couple of others have said here, that I completely appreciate and understand and have sympathy for the pain that some people go through, for example, towards the end of their life. And I know palliative care is important, but I've got enormous sympathy there. But there is a big but here. The but here is that I do worry it's not going to be people like us who, if you like, forthright and got opinions. It's people who are more vulnerable. I just fear, and I think it's inevitable, that vulnerable people will feel they have to end their life because families will do that. So no, I would not support euthanasia.
Thank you.
I don't need to support, they're already doing it. 200 last year, God knows how many in Slough this year.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'd like to bring in the gentleman on the far side, if I may. Dana, can I take a microphone round? If you can. Or whoever's got a microphone.
I think it's really interesting to talk about mental health, and I think it's possibly one of the most important issues that we're facing. But surely the biggest pressures that have led to the mental health crisis in this country have been 14 years of unnecessary, ideological driven austerity by the Conservatives that was enabled by 5 years of coalition government with the Liberal Democrats. So they can sit here with their platitudes, but what they've actually got a record of is cuts, savage cuts, that have left the vulnerable, the weak, and the destitute in positions of absolute despair. And I would love to hear what the Conservatives have to say about that.
That's fine, I'll give the Conservatives a couple of minutes to work that out. Michael Boyle, the Green Party. Michael Boyle, the Green Party, please. Then I'll go to Chelsea, wishes to reply, and then I'll give the Conservative Party to reply, and Dino will have a chance to go.
Thanks, sir.
Sir, don't call me that for about 15 years.
Yes, London, where I teach this. The numbers of suicides we currently see in the UK is unacceptable. I sadly know a few young people who have decided to commit suicide attempts, and the impact this has on their family and friends is heartbreaking. There is a mental health crisis, and sadly, the services that provide people with support do not currently have the capacity and the resources they need. The Green Party will create greater parity between physical and mental health to ensure that the NHS is properly funded now and in the future. There are also other factors in this that link this to the wider issue of adult social care. For example, often when people have undiagnosed and untreated mental health issues, they will self-medicate through alcohol and substance use. Unfortunately for these people, many mental health services will not see a patient if they report to using substances, and will instead refer them to addiction and recovery services, such as the one I work in. This creates a vicious circle, where because of their untreated mental health issues, they struggle to resolve their substance use issues, which means they cannot get access to the mental health treatment they need and deserve. This vicious cycle must end, and I would really like to see an end to the amount of suicides we see in this country.
Thank you very much. I'd like to get to Liberal Democrats for their right of reply, and then I'll go to the services after that.
Yeah, just a quick point about the coalition, but we mitigated many of the decisions that the Conservatives made since 2015. Now, the proof of this is that just consider how we were. In 2010, the country had the lowest growth in the G7, and in 2015, by the end of the coalition, we had the highest growth in the G7. And then that continued until Q1 2016, and then something happened in the middle of 2016 when it all went horribly wrong. I wonder what that was. Now look, in terms of cuts, you said about cuts. Absolutely, look, we made cuts and we did not do any of that line, nor did we do it with any pleasure. But let's just remember, going into that election, the Labour Party and the Liberal Democrats were promising about a similar level of cuts. The Conservatives were promising double. The coalition actually delivered nigh on exactly what Labour and the Liberal Democrats had promised. As to where they fell, the way that we approached it was that actually we cut at the top and work down, which is almost the opposite of the way that the Conservatives normally do it. Did we get things wrong? Absolutely. Tuition fees, for example, absolutely got things wrong. But when you look at the chaos of the last 9 years, this is the thing, we talk about 14 years, it's worse than that. It's taken just the Conservatives just 9 years to really screw it up.
Okay, thank you very much. Conservatives?
You know, I already said I'm a political writer, but what I can do is go by the data and by the facts that I do see. Of course, you know, it's easy to have a trial by media and bash the Conservatives for what they haven't done. So I can go on what they have done. Each year, in real terms, the Conservatives have put money into the NHS. They have done that. They had the Conservatives also published a prevention strategy on suicide in 2023. That includes financial investment of 10 million, increased funding for NHS mental health, 2.3 billion. Now these records are all available for anyone to look up. Special support for middle-aged men. The highest rate of male death is suicide, not just in this country, but in the world. So we put money into that. Expansion of mental health in schools, exploring how to restrict availability of lethal substances, building partnerships across NHS, private sector and voluntary sector. Now this is just some of the stuff they have done. There is a lot more. If you look it up and find out what they do, you will find that information yourself. And it's on sites that are credible. It's not just newsworthy or a soundbite. Yeah. These are based on data and facts.
Okay, have you tried to access mental health services?
I don't think that's an appropriate question.
I think it's very.
Okay, no, I disagree. I don't think it is an appropriate question because I don't want the question to get personal. That's no.
If somebody decides to kill themselves because they cannot get access,
that's a different question. Yeah. So it's about access to services as opposed to a personal question of have you ever. That's probably not appropriate. If that makes sense. So, yeah, that's fine. Diane?
I would like to come, but there's a young man who's been patiently sitting there through question after question.
I'll come to him in a minute. It's okay.
Is that a promise?
Yeah, that's a promise.
That's an election pledge.
It is a real promise. He's one of our mock election candidates, so he's getting very excited for the big ballot next Thursday.
Yeah. Okay. I've worked for a long time in Slough about mental health and with mental health people, and I fought the closure by a Labour council of a lot of mental health services. I had a shocking case recently of a man who was threatened, very badly threatened, and his family, and he was so worried about it and upset. He went to Wexham Hospital because he hadn't slept for days and days and days. All he wanted was something to make him sleep. He was sectioned and put in Prospect Park, then moved to Maidstone, then back to Prospect Park. He was beaten up by people in the hospital, and then he discovered he'd never actually been sectioned. It was all illegal. He was in prison like the one who over the cuckoo's nest. This is the sort of state of the system that we have, and it's terrifying, and it can happen to any one of us at any time. There is no mental health treatment in Slough. I don't believe it. I've not seen it.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I bring in the Labour candidate, please?
I was always volunteering in the mental health, and I used my home as a refuge for girls with domestic abuse with mental health issues. No, I'm not going to
Thank you very much.
Doesn't know what it's
Right, fair enough. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Can I just move the discussion on, please? Move the discussion on. Yes, please.
I want to bring this back to the substantive issue because it is a really, really important one. And we need to look at this. Suicide disproportionately affects men in our country. 3/4 of all suicide victims are men. Suicide is the second biggest killer for all young men. We need to address this and we need to be serious and not almost take the politics out of this and actually look at the humanity. I then want to come locally. So both Slough and Windsor constituencies come under East Berkshire Healthcare. And our CAM service is the same for both constituencies. Now look at what has happened in our CAM service over the last 14 years. First of all, on average now, over half of servants, or half the cases that are referred to CAMs get discharged without ever being seen by a physician. That is half of the cases that get referred, never see a doctor, never have a triage, and yet they get told, go elsewhere. And then, on the other half, that do eventually get to see somebody who is a specialist in this area, they are having to wait over 2 years and 2 months on average. Now, if you are at a point of crisis in your mental health, having to wait over 2 years to access that specialist support is not going to help anybody, and it is going to exacerbate the problem that we are seeing on our doorstep. So what we need to do is we do need to make a significant social investment into this service, because ultimately it saves lives. Now that means we need to have mental health workers embedded in each and every school. We need to start to talk about mental health and mental wellness actually. This isn't just about when you are in the middle of crisis. We need to be promoting the idea of mental wellness in each and every one of us. And we need to be having that conversation in schools. The other aspect is for that the young adult period. So the party has proposed within its first term of government to hire an extra 8,500 mental health support workers who will be embedded in every community, providing support up to the age of 25. This is the type of preventative work that we need taking place in our communities, so that when, and I will say men, because it is disproportionately men, but when men in our communities are feeling that crisis support, they can access that support at the time they need it, in their communities, and at a place that works for them. That is how we need to shift the system in this, and we do need to shift the conversation to mental wellness rather than mental crisis, and doing that would enable a whole societal change in how we treat this very serious issue.
Lovely, thank you very much. Right then. Great, so let's ask you a question quickly, and then we're going to wrap up with the final question of the evening. I promise we'll finish by 9. That's a big promise.
This is a question directed at those parties and independents that are campaigning for the voting age to be lowered to 16 years old. How are you dealing with the potential of unseriousness with voting and lack of understanding in the choice that they make that will come as a result of this choice?
The Labour Party, I'll come to you first.
Yeah, I'll address that. I've been a long-term campaigner for votes at 16, and the council we passed a motion on this ages ago. Firstly, there isn't an intelligence test or a seriousness test for any vote of any age. So the idea that 16 and 17-year-olds are somehow uniquely unqualified to be able to vote, I just don't believe, and I just completely reject. I also think, if you think about the idea of voting, it is about who we believe has a stake in the future. Now, likewise, I equally believe that 16 and 17-year-olds have as much of a stake in the future of our country as anybody else does. So I'm personally in favour of it. I've been in favour of it for a long time, and I've been campaigning for it for a long time, and I welcome this change going forward.
While I do agree with that, do you see the rise in social media stars as a joke going into politics? So, for example, Nico Obama, who's running for the same constituency that Sunak is. With that happening, these people between 16 and 17, there's a high, if there's people who they look up to in social media, the probability that they're going to take it seriously falls to less and less. Does that mean?
See, I hear what you're saying, and I agree, because the example you've given, I think he's actually standing in 11 constituencies, I believe.
Exactly.
For me, that is an argument for regulation of social media. That is not an argument against giving 16 and 17-year-olds a vote. And actually, if we were to have that conversation, which is very serious and valid point you raised, I would rather people that are main consumers of that model are part of the decision-making process about how we deal with it.
Thank you. I'd like to pass on to Simran, actually, from the Workers' Party, just to...
Personally, I don't agree with young age, because when I think back to when I was 16 and 17, I couldn't care less. The politics did not bother me at all. But if it were to happen, we need more political education, I think. Introducing politics at a younger age will help students, young people make more informed decisions. And I even think that it helps now when all these parties come and make these promises, make these pledges, make all of these things, say that they're going to make things happen. Young people, even 18-year-olds, don't truly understand what's happening because they haven't been taught that you need to read the manifesto, research, look into these parties, their past and their present. So I think political education is key, and I don't personally agree with their age.
That's a perfect plug for the new politics department, Suburban Static Grammar School. Thank you very much. Michael, the Green Party.
So, yeah, it's a big question, and I understand your point about a social media star potentially getting power, but this has always been the case. You've always had parties like the Monster Raven Uni Party, and these other entities, the Lord Bucketheads, and you've always had these entities, and they never really make a significant impact at any election, the general election. I, in principle, do think that paying adult fares for most things, paying adult fare on a bus, a train, you join the army, 16 with your parents and why not? I think that 16-year-olds are, and I actually, coming to places like here and also in charters in Ascot, it made me realise how astute that younger people are with politics, far more astute than I was when I was 16. And it's great to see that astuteness. And I think, yeah, I believe on principle that post 16 is a positive step forward to allow young people to be part of the democratic process and have a voice in their future.
Thank you, sorry, Greg.
Sorry, while I do agree with you in that, like, we've had these kind of joke, going forward in the campaign as a joke, I don't think we have seen it to this extent because social media is such a huge platform and you have all of the children's eyes on it. You see it everywhere. You see children being 6 on iPads and they're exposed to these people on the internet. So your point that they haven't gained traction so far is purely because of the fact that it stays to the 18, because the voting age is 18. So the 16 year, bringing it down to 16, it's a hugely different demographic who will potentially vote for those unserious candidates, which will skew the political effect, which will skew politics and have a potentially negative effect on the people of said constituency or said party.
Personally, I'm not sure that it would have that big an impact. Most people when they get to their 20s and their mid-20s, late 20s, they're not going to be interested in voting for social media style of national election. I do understand that they may vote share, much like the Monster Raven Uni Party get vote share sometimes and so on. But I really don't see it as something that's going to make a huge difference to a national election. I do think it does encourage younger people to go and vote, and I think that is hugely important. So I think it's if they first come to go and vote, they go and vote for Nico, so be it. And if they go and then vote again in the next elections, and they probably won't, vote for a social media star, at least they've got into that habit of going to vote. I voted ever since I had the opportunity to. And I think young people in politics is hugely important. I ran my first election at the age of 24 as a council candidate in Windsor for the Labour Party actually. And I've always encouraged young people to get involved in politics, whether that's voting or money. And I encourage everyone here today, with young people here today, to do the same and do get involved because it's hard work, but it's worth it.
Right, I am going to move on. Sorry, I'm going to let the young people, so I'm sort of like taking that towards the young people. So I know that there's 2 hands up, and I know that Chelsea would like to answer questions as well. You can choose. Yep, come Dana. You got the power.
Okay, so I know that we want to finish this up by 9, and I just have a question about national service, which will probably be directed at solely the Tory party. So I know that
I will therefore only let the Tory party answer this.
I know that we should not announce the policy to introduce national service in 18-year-olds or in young people, and I just wanted to ask, because of all of the things that happened on the Tory reign, such as the pandemic and how that was handled and how that affected our schooling and our education and our mental health, and then considering events such as the fact that people do not currently spend a day performing international memorial service on D-Day in Normandy, I just don't understand why we as young people having been failed by the conceptual government for as long as we can remember should have to be willing to sacrifice our lives. And again, considering the fact that it would be punished by a prison sentence if you decide not to go ahead and not make yourself public fines, where you also see a class difference between the lower class people who are disadvantaged and can't advocate for themselves as well as middle class and upper class people who will then escape this national service and then will not have to experience the same suffering that we as lower class or not as well as young people will have to. I just don't understand why that policy was even created in the first place and why we should have to stand for as young people.
I'll take the D-Day point first, if I may. The Prime Minister was wrong to, in fact, it was disgraceful to leave D-Day celebrations, commemorations early, and distance myself from that behaviour. I recognise and apologise, but it should never have happened in the first place. And it's a complete lack of leadership on his behalf, so I'm very clear about that. In terms of the national service point, I think it's been quite misrepresented, but I also accept that that's the Conservative Party's fault. Because national service means something. When people think about what is national service, they think about when, for example, my grandfather, I was with the Joint Forces. I don't think that is the proposition. I think the idea is a very small section of the 18 will have that opportunity, it will be very much voluntary. What I think is better described as a policy is compulsory national citizenship service. And that is something I would support. So, for example, I did the Duke of Edinburgh Award as an 18-year-old. I went to a comprehensive town in Manchester, and I feel that those of us who did that was an incredible opportunity really to give us exposure and opportunity that we've never had. So I'd like to encourage as many people as possible to do things like Duke of Edinburgh Award, things like the National Citizenship Service. So I support that element of what we call national service policy in this state, but I wouldn't at all support a national service proposal which Senate belongs behind. And I don't think that's what is proposed, but I appreciate the circumstances fail to be.
I know Molly wants to come in. Did you want to come in? No, you don't. Okay, there's a gentleman just in the audience, the second row. This is a follow-up. I presume it's the same topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about the National Citizenship Service. I did that 2 years ago. It cost me £50 at the time. I went for a year, not a year, sorry, a week abroad on the other way. And I volunteered to do for 1 week. Since when I volunteered 2 years ago, the price of NCS gone up. It's now £90, so it's doubled almost. It used to be 2 weeks abroad or away from home, or only 1 week. The funding's gone down compared to what it used to be just 2 years ago. So we'll get to that.
So I didn't know that, but if that's the case, you can try to talk passionately about my experience and what you've implemented me. So if that is the case, that's something that I absolutely want to pick up and make sure it's fully inclusive. I think it's about how.
Yeah. Okay. Diana, do you want to come in on that?
Thank you. I've been British Asian for many years and I'm a property organiser. And what I don't want to see is soldiering on the cheap. And there's been very little support as it is for the people that come out of the forces and they come out with PTSD and mental health issues and they just don't. And so many of those homeless on the streets are veterans. So no, I don't support this scheme at all. And I hope that you will vote it down, whichever of us gets selected, that we will vote this down. Young people shouldn't be used as cannon fodder.
I'm going to bring Chelsea in the Liberal Democrats for the final word on this topic, and then we'll move to our final question. I'm super excited because they don't know it's coming.
So I just thought I had to come back on this as a young person about votes for 16 and 17-year-olds. My challenge to you is, what is wrong with having a social media person as an MP? Actually, I feel like it might do us some good. We've seen in the past people from all walks of life becoming MPs. Zelensky in Ukraine was an actor. Ronald Reagan was an actor. What is wrong with people coming from different professions? Can I finish? Actually, we've got social media stars at the moment who are really advocating for getting young people involved in politics. So Sharon Gaffer from Love Island is really advocating for people to get involved with voting, to get involved with politics. Actually, they have a voice, and it shouldn't just be a specific type of person that becomes a politician. So actually, thinking about having social media stars as politicians, maybe that's something we need to think about in the future. But again, I just want to reiterate some of the points that other people have made about you can go in the army, you can get married, why can't you vote? You have to start paying taxes at 16. You should therefore be able to help decide how those taxes are spent. And I find it quite insulting on behalf of young people that you would say only young people are going to be influenced negatively in the way they vote based on what they see on social media. As someone who, I've already said, I'm very passionate about Europe, I was very young at the time of the referendum. There were people younger than me that weren't able to vote, and their future was stolen by older people who voted us out of the EU. People who followed the political opinions of Farage, who arguably is a social media star. So I think it's a flawed argument.
There's a couple of hands up, so Thomas.
This has to be related to the previous question.
You've got the mic now.
Okay, this is maybe directed at the Labour Party or any other party with some kind of house building program, which is this. If you're going to be building thousands of new homes, there's a big problem with this nowadays, which is the high amount of planning permissions required to get those house building programs going, which is part of the reason why house building has been falling massively over the past few years. Do you see any reduction in those planning permissions?
Can I take one-word answers, or near to one-word answers I can? Liberal Democrats, please.
Having worked in local councils, I can tell you that the problem isn't the time that it takes to get planning permission. The problem is actually developers not carrying through and building them out.
Okay, thank you. Labour?
We are going to need more planning permissions. We are going to need to address the issue around construction costs and delays. We are going to need to address the issue around the skill shortage in this industry. But ultimately, we are going to need more planning permissions to be able to deliver more housing out of the back end.
Okay, thank you. Is anyone going to disagree with that, Michael? Last one.
Well, not quite disagree, but what I would say is that we should relax planning for brownfield sites, so that we can get these sites to be developed into more social housing. I think that would be a positive step, and avoiding redevelopment that I think most of us would want.
Okay, I'm gonna guillotine that one there. So, last question of the day then, Dana, number 7. All I want is 3 words from each candidate. Okay, so I'm gonna start with Michael in the middle, and then David, and then it's gonna go left, right, left, right. Okay, 3 words is number 7, Dana.
What are your top 3 priorities for young people?
My top 3 priorities for young people, I would say affordable education, affordable housing, and I think mental health services. I think they would be my top 3.
David Buckley?
Okay, first one, we have is hope. Hopefully, give them aspirations, and then we need to really create policies that will allow them to move forward in life in whatever way. So it could be in funding university placement properly, it could be in regards to create housing opportunities for them, which bring or buy. So hope and aspirations are 2. The third one is just work, we side by side with the young people on this journey. It's going to be a long one. It's going to be a long one, it's going to be painful, and they need someone side by side so they're not alone. So hope, aspirations, and not being alone.
Lovely. Simran?
The workers' party has always said education is fundamental right, affordable housing, and healthcare is a serious thing for young people as well. Well, for people, but yeah, thank you.
Chandra. Thank you. Obviously, better education opportunities and also safety. We need to make people feel that they are safe in the community and the belongingness. They need to get to feel that they are part of the town, they are part of the government, they are part of the community.
Julian.
NHS, and that includes mental health as well, the climate crisis, and Jesus, rebuilding the bridges with Europe.
Diana.
You said 3 words, so I'm giving you 3 words, and they all begin with S. Support, sport, and safety. And those are the things I think young people need. I can elaborate what I'm elaborate on. If you ask me.
No, I don't. I want to. Chelsea.
Fixing our NHS, building more housing, and fixing the climate crisis.
Lovely, thank you. Jack.
I think housing needs to be up there. I think apprenticeships should be a particular focus. And I think as the economies turn, as we turn into economic growth, it's the opportunity to grow.
Perfect. Pav.
I'm also going to actually answer the question and stick to 3 words. Opportunity, security, and ambition.
Lovely, thank you. And Mommy.
Do you know, most of them have to be honest. I don't go with sports. I would say faith. Have faith in your fellow man, in your colleagues at work. Have faith, keep having faith, because that's how you change the world. Create economic growth and real opportunities by unlocking opportunities on your doorstep. Slough and Windsor, Bath Road, full of multinational companies. You should be getting those big packets home. They should not just be with the outsiders coming in and taking those leadership roles.
Superb, thank you very much. Round of applause, please, for our general election candidates. I would now like to invite our candidates just to step together at the front for a photograph, as I think this is a fairly unique experience having 2 constituencies having a hustings at the same time. So It'd be great to have this memento. Yeah, step to stand. Thank you.
Might need someone taller.
I know. Should have time to put their rosettes on.
Sound 3 ballot box. 1, 2, 3. One last one. One more unit.
Wait, let me in. You let me in.
Let's get pictures of you.
Just put the speaker in the.
quite hard, right? Criticize the aggressive segments. Well, I think if they see it, it has to be a sustainable solution. EU, US, UK, Arab so that never get to that situation where now Palestinians they can say I don't know any aspect. Check around the whether it will happen. I suspect that it's too large. Where they are. There's all those young people who obviously appeal to well, it's actually